Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Loggers and Lore. I'm joined by Brendan.
I'll spill my beer.
And, we left off at a great spot, learning about the Primarchs, most specifically the only loyal remaining and most successful Primarch, Bobby G, who's found himself in quite the predicament against the word bearers and the world eaters. So we're gonna continue. He's just got home.
I fucked that up.
Okay.
So he chased them off, but he ended up chasing them to, I don't know how you pronounce it, Nucera. No wonder Angron. I'm so pissed. You can't say his. Nobody can pronounce his homeworld's name. So anyways, he chases them back there, catches up with them. They basically show up. The planet's heavily defended. The Ultramarines have to do everything they possibly can to make landfall because they're just insistent, like, this is personal. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to take over a planet at this point. They're just trying to bust up some people's heads.
Yeah.
So, they swarm the place in drop pods. The capital ships are fighting in orbit like crazy. The drop pods land. That fight was ridiculous. Everyone... They're expecting the Ultramarines to be all civilized, but it was straight up the veterans from the ambush at Calth that came out of the drop pods versus, a bunch of angry-ass Space Marines with nails in their brains and super religious fanatics.
No one there is able to keep a nice stable.
No, it's not. It's not stable. So, Guilliman catches up with Lorgar, and they throw down super goddamn hard. So,
Guilliman
is the Bobby G.
Okay.
Primarch of the Ultramarines versus Lorgar. Primarch of the Word Bearers. Power Fist versus Power Maul.
Who's got the Power Maul? Word Bearer.
Word Bearer, yeah.
Seems like you would.
So, their guys are all fighting and dying around them, and these two Primarchs are thrown down in a fight that's never been seen before in the galaxy. Like, they're moving so fast that regular humans wouldn't even really be able to see them. This is Neo. I'm not sure.
Neo when he becomes the One versus Agent Smith, and
it's crazy shit. So, long story short, they scrap. Guilliman punches Lorgar in the sternum so hard that basically breaks his chest a bit, but Guilliman gets hit in the face with that power maul hard enough to crack his skull. So they're both like super goddamn hurt when Angron shows up like the Kool-Aid man on crack.
Yeah.
Just comes bursting out of everyone else's fight. He's covered in bits of armor and bone and gore from people that he's been scrapping to make it way there. And to understand, Angron... He's huge. He's mad.
The root word of his name is anger.
And I don't know why, and maybe I just glossed over this, but his idea of being sentimental is he basically, he was wearing the skulls of his kinsmen, so not his family, but the people that he was raised with that died in the gladiator pits.
Classic serial murderer.
He wears their skulls so that he can show them what he's up to. He's like, okay, well, I'm taking the family on a tour of space. Check out all these guys I'm killing.
Yeah, it's troubled.
Yeah, so
There's a lot of warning signs, Emperor.
He comes bursting out in here. Lorgar basically says, all right, I'm out. And backs off a bit, and Angron goes at Guilliman like a spider monkey on crack.
This is not great.
So they throw down. Guilliman breaks one of the skulls.
Oh.
Cuts, goes in.
That was Aunt
Sharon. It was his aunt. Yeah, it could have been his Aunt Sharon. Breaks one of Angron's skulls. The ground starts heaving up. Shit goes crazy. Lorgar starts chanting stuff that no one's ever heard before. And then Angron stabs Guilliman in the chest with his chainsword. And I think they describe it in the books as a light stabbing. I don't know how you get stabbed lightly with a chainsword, which,
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to describe this, but it's a chainsaw that's also a sword.
Yeah.
So I really
stands to reason.
Just there's no such thing as a flesh wound, but I guess Guilliman's a big boy, so he survives this stab to the chest, this light stabbing, if you will, and would have been killed except for Lorgar chooses this moment to really like bust out the chaos magic and straight up starts turning. The runestorm pops in overhead, so the sky catches on fire. It starts raining blood. And Angron, and I could be wrong, fight me in the comments, is the first of the Primarchs to become a demon.
Huh.
So he transforms from a big angry dude into a bigger, angrier, redder dude.
And he's still called Angron.
Still called Angron, the demon Primarch. So, yeah, we just bursts himself into a demon, but while he's like, obviously, like, this is
it's not an
this is like
process.
a montage, right? Yeah. Like, stuff's happening, and Guilliman's bodyguard aren't the kind to stand around and watch, so they scoop their Primarch, and they fucking make haste out of there.
It's a bad scene.
Yeah, so, that whole fight ends with Lorgar hurt, Guilliman hurt,
demon,
Angron demon,
Angron demon,
and that basically that whole fight and everything, nothing really comes of it. Everyone just kind of limps away, and Angron basically they destroy the planet, and he just leaves. He's a demon. He just fucking completely he never thinks about his home planet again. Takes off.
He's not a playable character.
Not yet. But I'm very fully confident that like Mortarion and Magnus, you'll see a demon Primarch model for Angron in the next 6 months to 20 years.
It's a fairly safe bet, but I kind of like Angron. He seems kind of fun.
He is fun in that whole sense of, it's a game about violence, and why wouldn't you want to use the violent guy? But, I don't know why you gotta be so angry about it.
But if I've learned anything from modern movies and stuff, it's the non-angry killers that you have to be worried about.
Yeah, and
at least this guy wears his heart on his sleeve. And
the only reason, and the crazy thing is Lorgar's whole thought about this was like, okay, I know these nails in my brother's head are killing him, and he's
a good fighter,
and damn, he's a good fighter. But so Lorgar had been working on this magical, or not magical, but this, fuck it, it's magic. This magical process to save Angron's life. But he makes him a demon, which I guess did save his life and made him more powerful, and now he gets to live forever. But I don't know if it's a road I would have gone down. Maybe
it's a story of brotherly love.
I'd have rolled the dice on brain surgery, I think.
Yeah. Jeez.
But yeah, that's basically the Angron, Lorgar, Guilliman throwdown. And then, Guilliman scoots out of there. The runestorm gets worse. Imperium Secondus happens. We'll talk about that later because it's a whole goddamn situation story.
Boy.
But long story short, Guilliman doesn't really have much to do with the rest of the Horus Heresy after this. He never makes it back to Terra to protect the Emperor. He does help some other people make it back, and there's he does a whole bunch of stuff, but he's not in the final battle at Terra. He never gets a chance to confront Horus, which would have been the showdown of showdowns as far as I'm concerned. So instead, he is the one that shows up after the Heresy when Sanguinus, the Primarch of the Blood Angels, is dead. Horus has killed him. And he basically shows up, and the Emperor is not dead, but on severe life support. Horus is so dead that he doesn't even have a soul because Emperor killed him, then chased his soul into the warp and destroyed his soul. Don't piss the Emps off.
No.
So Bobby G shows up and says, someone's got to put all this back together.
He's pretty good at it.
And that's what I do. So he shows up, he takes over the...
He's the classic middle child fixer in,
100%.
Yeah. That's exactly what... You've got Horus, who's maybe the eldest and the most fucked up. Bobby G, who's middle fixer. And then maybe, the combination of Angarn and fucking Word Bearer, who are, kind of the youngest spoiled pieces of shit, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely, the wise head on his shoulders. I look at every time I read a Horus Heresy book and Primarch gets introduced, I go, thank God I play Orcs because you all suck.
Yeah, they got a lot of problems.
But Bobby G always seems like he's been pretty solid, and maybe I've missed something.
The kind of guy you want to date your daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I don't want anyone dating my daughter.
No.
So, he leads the Reformation. He takes back, they chase down the traitor legions, chase them out of space, takes back planets that can be taken back, wipes out planets that can't be taken back, do the re-crusade, if you will.
Yeah.
And during this process, he becomes really good buddies with Call, who is like the head Adeptus Mechanicus guy, the mad scientist of Mars.
I was going to ask, because this seems kind of related, is there any Primarch who's just like a bookworm?
Well, yeah, Magnus.
Magnus is a bookworm.
Yeah.
He's bad, though.
Well, I mean, he's bad now.
Okay.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Magnus is
Who's he with?
He's the Thousand Sons Primarch. So the Thousand Sons,
that's technically bad.
They were the nerds of the Space Marine the Space Marine fleet for sure. Like they valued knowledge.
He's around now.
Yeah.
During all this shit.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't want to go so far as to say Magnus did nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of didn't do anything that wrong.
Yeah, because I understand.
He was just fed some bad information and his dad lied to him a bunch. Like, if people have been honest with Magnus from the beginning,
yeah,
like, Magnus probably would have been the one who saved the universe.
I like. So, we've touched on a few Primarchs, but where the fuck's Magnus been this whole time?
Learning. So, basically, like, Magnus...
By my account, there's still, like, 10...
Yeah, there's a bunch. Magnus is giant and red and has one eye.
Oh, so he's just troubled from the start.
No, not really. He was the only one that never lost contact with the Emperor.
Huh.
He's so psychic. Like he's next to the Emperor and possibly the Signalite. But like, let's put it this way: like Magnus isn't like top 3 most powerful psychics in the Imperium for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And probably like second smartest.
Okay.
Like, so he was so psychic that even as like a growing fetus in a test tube, he was talking with his dad psychically.
Yeah.
Like he basically the second, like, I don't know if it was when he went from 8 cells to 16 or 16 cells to 32, but a voice popped up in Emperor's head and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" Yeah. So Magnus is very aware, very smart, very psychic. Also got vanished, stolen away by chaos.
Classic.
Never lost contact with his dad through that process, though. Just didn't know where he was to tell his dad, "Hey, come pick me up. I'm at the gas station down the street."
Yeah.
He went, "I'm on a planet somewhere, but I don't really know where, so I'll see you when I see you."
Yeah.
So basically, that was Magnus was born like that. But then when his legion was created, the Thousand Sons, they were almost immediately had psychic powers. Like they were all capable of using psychic powers, but they were all also always at risk of transforming into terrible tentacle monsters. Yeah,
as you do when you have the psychic power.
All the time. They called it the flesh change. So the Legion was basically unusable. They crusaded for a long while, but as they crusaded and as they had to use their power more and become stronger, they also would randomly be affected by these random flesh changes, and it was tearing their Legion apart.
Literally.
So their Legion was basically they figured that it was only a matter of time before the Thousand Sons, which started off as
became the 1,000 Tentacles.
Well, they started off as Legion as 100,000, and I'm pretty sure by the time Magnus saved them, there were about 1,000 of them.
Right.
So like they were dying, but they get to see, this is what the problem with beer is. I literally just finished reading this book. Prospero. Okay, so they get to Prospero, which is a planet where the natives had their own problems.
Yeah.
They get to Prospero and they find Magnus. Magnus is there. He pretty much runs the planet because he showed up and actually saved the planet and rebirthed it.
1,000 Sons find Magnus.
Yeah, because so they go to him and they're all, and Big E's like, "Yeah, this is your Legion, but honestly, like, they're pretty prone to Spartan tentacles, and I think we're gonna start over, and I don't know, like," and Magnus is like, "No, these are my sons.
Yeah,
I'll deal with this.
I'm a red guy with one eye.
Park him here.
I identify with these people."
And Magnus does some crazy, mysterious shit. Long story short, bunch of books later, he saved his legion. But they're all healthy and stable, and he goes off, and they carry on with the crusade leading with Magnus.
Yeah.
And then Magnus is always more interested in knowledge than conquering. Yeah. So where some legions would conquer a planet and wipe it out, or conquer a planet and wipe out their cultural artifacts, assimilate them. He was always like, Magnus was the guy that was like, no, we gotta save the library, guys. And he saved a lot of libraries. Mm-hmm. And all of the knowledge that they captured and accrued, he would always have copies of it brought back to Prospero to grow their library.
That's cool.
So all if you're going to talk about bookworm legions, like Thousand Sons for sure.
I like that.
So he was, at one point they were on a planet. The planet was super weird. It was hot as fuck. Had a giant ass mountain, like 50-kilometer tall goddamn mountain on it.
Right, big guy.
Real boring people, like the neutrals from Futurama that lived. Like the natives were like, and they didn't have a psychic impression, so all the Thousand Sons of Magnus are psychic. So they could see your aura, like they know what you're feeling all the time. Yeah. But these guys, like there was nothing. Like they were like null space.
Yeah.
And they wore masks, which were mirrors. So no, you never saw their faces. They had these reflective masks all the time.
Fucked up.
And they were really like easygoing people, and they were there. And as soon as they called the crusade, the whole point was to bring worlds into compliance. Yeah. They didn't just show up and burn colonies.
Yeah.
And everyone they ran across, including these people, were descendants of humans, even if they were slightly different from evolution.
Yeah.
So they, Magnus and Thousand Sons showed up, and the people on this planet were like, "Yeah, right. That's fine. We'll be in the Emperor. Like,
fine.
No need to scrap about anything."
Yeah.
And normally, most legions would have said, "All right, well, here's your administratum, and we're out of here." But Magnus was like, "Yo, this planet is fucking weird. And what's up with that mountain?"
Yeah, you gotta check it out.
So they hung around, and they were learning stuff and finding stuff about stuff. And then they eventually got invited into this valley that existed kind of on the mountains. You had to hike up the mountain forever, and eventually you'd come to this like hidden valley on it. Mm. And this hidden valley was filled with statues, like giant white statues the size of like skyscrapers, like Titan statues. They were clearly like humanoid, and everyone was like, "Yo, what the fuck are these?" And the guys were like, "Yo, we don't talk about those." But eventually they found out that this was all like left over from a previous civilization that lived on this planet before humans colonized it, that got wiped out by themselves.
Classic. Classic.
So this is like the Thousand Sons, the Legion's first real run-in with chaos. Basically these giant statues were Titans, alien Titans, but they were left there to guard this mountain, and the mountain was imprisoning a demon of some sorts. And the tradition was that these people, in order to placate the demon, they always brought their dead into the mountain and they left them there. And then and that never implicitly says, was this demon consuming the souls? Probably. So like, these people were probably all fucked from birth. Like they were just going to live and then be eradicated.
Yeah.
Or, maybe it was just something not that weird and it was just feeding on the bodies. Long story short, there was demons. Yeah. Demons living in this mountain. Space Wolves showed up at the same planet and went, "You guys are supposed to be fighting with us like 8 sectors away. We're on crusade. Let's get it going." Mm-hmm. And Magnus is like, "Yo, we're not going. There's shit I haven't learned here yet." Like, and the Space Wolf emissaries were like, "You need to fucking come with and hurry the fuck up."
Yeah.
And they didn't. A bunch of kind of shit went down. I mean, the Thousand Sons they were proud and arrogant and
super smart,
They were definitely the smartest, and they had psychic power unlike any other legion. They were much more powerful, and they kept it to themselves more or less because psychics were still kind of frowned on.
What about the book? What about like the bookie guys, the Templars, or something?
The Word Bearers?
No, isn't there a legion that's good and they're like have a bunch of?
Well, there's the Black Templars, but they're not even. They're not. They weren't a legion.
There was a good legion. Oh, maybe it was 1,000 Sons.
Yeah. Right. Well, the Thousand Sons didn't do anything that bad themselves. Like the Legion itself, I don't really think ever, until the very end, committed any sorts of evil stuff.
So then, okay, so the fucking wolf guys are like, "Come on, hurry up!"
Yeah. So they woke up this fucking demon between being rushy, and basically the demon took over the Titans. There's this big ass fight. The Space Marines and Magnus and Thousand Suns had to fight these Titan things in this fucking valley. And the only real way they could beat them was busting out some badass psychic powers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of these Titans should have crushed Magnus, but one of those Thousand Suns, like, used, like, created a force field and protected him. And the Space Wolves were like, you guys, what the fuck? How do you shoot fire from your hands?
Yeah.
That's not natural and shouldn't be allowed.
I use my teeth.
So they dealt with that planet. Magnus had this run-in the mountain with a demon and basically killed it.
Oh, okay.
Or he thought he killed it, but he had the run-in that he thought he won, and they basically, there was nothing left for them on this planet, so they peaced. And they went back on crusade, and they were on crusade with the Space Wolves, and the Word Bearers, but it's less relevant. And they were fighting this other planet, and Magnus, of course, went, well, this is a dick move in bird law, but it was a planet of kind of bird people, and they were fighting them in the mountaintops, and it's an ugly fight, and the Space Wolves they're known as the Emperor's executioners for a reason, and they weren't really leaving things behind, and Magnus was like, I want to save the library, and Russ is like, yeah, sure, bud, we'll save the library. And the Word Bearers, who at the time hadn't betrayed anyone, but were very, fanatical, like, what do you mean there's books in there that say someone's more powerful than the Emperor? Like, right. Burn this people, and all of them, they're all going to the stake.
Yeah.
And Magnus was like, I'm saving the fucking library. So no one really, I don't really know what happened, but what I think happened was Magnus basically protected the library at the cost of a bunch of people attacking the library, like defended the library. So Leman Russ shows up, pissed, and him and Magnus, there's a shout match on a bridge. They start to scrap over it, but Lorgar shows up and says, guys, we're not fighting about this. Just fucking everyone chill the fuck out and get out of here.
Oh, how nice of Lorgar.
Yeah.
Before he betrays him, yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of was the final straw that broke the camel's back in terms of the Emperor tolerating psychics. They had the Council of Nakia, which was basically the Emperor invited everyone who had a dog in the fight on one side or another to this big council at Nakia, and they all talked it out, and the Emperor laid down this proclamation that the Space Marine legions are canceled. They all had, not all of them, but a lot of them used librarians, which was the Thousand Suns were teaching other chapters how to use their psychics and develop their psychic powers. So librarians were the Space Marines that were possibly psychic and were developing their own psychic powers. And not all the legions had them because they didn't trust them, but some legions had more than others. Yeah. Thousand Suns were basically all psychic. Yeah. And the Council of Nakia, the Emperor basically laid down the law and said, no more fucking psychic powers. Anyone uses psychic powers, we're showing up and we're fucking killing you all. Don't use them. You're gonna do something bad. Cut it out.
Thousand Suns are like, but Dad.
Thousand Suns, Magnus was pissed. Yeah. He showed up thinking that was going to be his big vindication, and all of his brothers who were against him were going to have to shut the hell up because the Emperor's hella psychic. Opposite. The Emperor's main right-hand man, the Siglite, hella psychic. Magnus, who thought he was the closest with the Emperor, hella psychic. Yeah. And basically the Emperor said, for reasons that were never explained, which is part of the daddy issues thing, said, no more fucking psychics, guys. I can't tell you why, but we're not doing it. You're fucking with demons or something. Demons aren't real, but you're creating demons. You thought they're not real. Don't think about demons. No more psychics. Stop thinking about demons. And so they banned psychic powers. So the Thousand Suns promptly went, okay, yeah, that's great. Went back to Prospero and continued using their psychic powers. Yeah. So Horus Heresy breaks out. Horus, like I explained before with Calth, was all about distracting everyone. Yeah. And Magnus, loyal as fuck. He was using psychic powers, but he was using it for loyal reasons. Yeah, yeah. And long story, so Magnus learns of the heresy, learns that Horus is going to betray the Emperor. Yeah. And goes, oh shit, we need to warn, guys, we got to warn the Emperor. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll never make it there in a spaceship. There's only one way to do it. I've got to go there psychically. Yeah. And everyone went, because everyone in his Thousand Suns friends are obviously all psychic, went, yeah, of course, like, you gotta go there psychically. And, the odd naysayer was like, yo, but the Emperor specifically said, don't use psychic powers. and Magnus is like, yeah, but he didn't think that Horus was going to betray him. Yeah. I gotta use the psychic powers.
Yeah.
Gets like 1,000 thralls into this cave, these crystal caves that the Thousand Sons use. All the, mad ceremony in depth, and they project, like, Magnus astral projects himself further than anyone's ever projected themselves before.
Yeah.
Across the warp. Sees some shit. He knows he's strong in the warp. He doesn't have to worry about, they called them void hunters at the time, and now we think of them as demons.
Yeah, he's like, fuck you.
But he's like, fuck you guys, I can do what I want.
Yeah.
And he streaked towards Terra the whole time, like, burning up. So the thralls were basically like humans that were kind of psychic, and they would all key themselves through these crystals. Okay. And he would use up their life force.
It's just, man.
Oh, yeah.
Grimdark.
So burning thralls, heads to Terra, gets towards Terra, giant golden fucking cage around Terra in the warp. And Magnus is like, what the shit? Like, I need to get through this. This is some fuckery. I had to make a deal with this weird-ass presence in the warp just to make it this far. And now there's a golden fucking cage. And there's presences going, well, it's fine, man. Just, you can get through that. And Magnus is like, what the fuck? Like, why is there a golden, like, why, how is this even possible? What could be blocking me? Busts the cage down. Breaks a hole through it. So he can get to Terra and warn his dad. So from the Emperor's point of view, they're all hanging out in a super secret laboratory under the Himalayas.
Yeah.
Working on a webway. They're working on getting into the webway, which is like this kind of psychic network that's stable that goes through the warp. The Eldar use to travel around.
Yeah.
But the Emperor's grand plan was like, yo, I'm going to make a human webway or get us into the webway so that we can just travel and we won't even need spaceships anymore. We can just walk in through gates. But there's mad-ass demons and shit that live in the warp, so we got to be careful about this. Hence the psychic wall around Terra protecting all this. And Magnus just bursts through, comes exploding out of this gate that the Emperor was building in a secret laboratory, and goes, yo, Emperor, I gotta talk to you. Wait, why is everyone looking at me like this?
Oh, no.
So the Emperor's pissed. He's super pissed.
Did you tell him that Horus is coming?
His whole secret project wrecked. Emperor doesn't believe a goddamn thing Magnus says about Horus because he just figures that that Magnus is the actual traitor, and he's just using Horus to, like, as a distractionary story. They, like, have this big, telepathic communication set. Magnus goes, oh, for fuck's sakes, I fucked everything up. Like, as far as, like, looking at this, you're like, God damn it, like, Big E, why wouldn't you just told Magnus? But instead, like, Big E tells him afterwards, like, this was all, like, you were gonna run this whole operation, and now you fucked it up, and blah, blah. Lays down the biggest dad guilt trip when it's dad's fault.
Oh, gosh.
And Magnus goes, oh, fuck, and just cows himself and goes back to Prospero. So he gets back to Prospero, and is like, I fucked everything up. I don't want to talk to anyone. I'll be in my room. And just fucks off to his room. Meanwhile, the Emperor is like, yo, Lehman Russ, I need you to go to Prospero and bring Magnus back for discipline because he fucked up and we need to talk face to face and he's in shit. So Lehman Russ goes, fuck yeah, I hate that prick.
Oh no.
I'm going to go beat my brother up and bring him back for justice.
Oh no.
And starts heading for Prospero. And then Horus is like, takes Lehman Russ aside and is like, listen, I know the Emperor said he wants you to bring Magnus back.
What if we just kill
But Magnus is up to a bunch of shit on his planet. They're all witches. You just need to go and kill everyone on that planet. They're traitors. They're trying to kill the Emperor. If you bring Magnus back, he's just going to kill the Emperor. Go fucking kill Magnus. And so Lehman Russ and the Wolves roll in and are like, we're here to fuck your shit up. Magnus knows they're coming.
Yeah,
he can tell they're coming.
Yeah, of course.
But he knows he's ruined all of the plans, and he sees everything, right? He knows, like, Horus has betrayed him. Yeah. Horus is trying to set two legions against each other. Yeah. If we fight the wolves, we'll both get wiped out, and then the Emperor will be down 2 legions instead of 1. Yeah. And he basically washes his hands of it, and he says, we're all going to die, I'll be in my room. And then he stops. Like, so the Thousand Sons could have, they could tell that they would be able to tell that a fleet was coming. Yeah. He blocked them from even being able to tell it. he scattered their fleet to the edges of the system so that there'd be no orbital defenses. And he basically just consigned them to being killed.
Oh no.
So the Space Wolves show up. Thousand Suns realize they show up because they fucking orbitally bombard Prospero.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one city on Prospero, so that everyone lives in. The rest of Prospero is a desolate wasteland that's taken over by giant psychic flying ants that psychically lay eggs in your brain. It's real ugly, but
oh Jesus Christ!
There's a reason you don't live anywhere but one city on Prospero.
No shit.
So the Thousand Suns realize like they get nuked from space, but they have giant ass force field over the city. So they basically just see the force field start having explosions lit up on it and go, oh, what the shit? How didn't we see this coming? Oh, fuck. And then Magnus is like, yo, guys, don't fight them. Just take this one on. Just die. Like,
take it on the chin.
It's the only way. Like, Magnus is taking a hella long view on this.
Yeah.
Hella long view. The Thousand Suns, who, are their own, like, they have psychic powers, they're powerful, they're slowly, like, they're arrogant because they're powerful. Like, all this is the problem with the entire Space Marine idea.
Yeah, everybody's,
They all think they're the best. So is the Thousand Suns are like, no, like, fuck that. We could take these assholes.
Yeah.
They have to come down here to fight us anyways.
There's, like, still only 1,000 of them.
Well, there's more, and there's the defense forces. So we could fucking beat these assholes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So the Space Wolves and the Custodians who are with the Space Wolves and the Sisters of Silence, which are basically like witch hunters, they're null maidens. You can't use psychic powers around them.
Oh, that's dope.
Like you can't feel them. They don't talk.
That's a classic trope. Yeah.
Yeah, they're null maidens. They're like blank spaces in the warp.
Yeah.
They're super cool. They're really good if you're fighting psychers.
Yeah. This is on tabletop.
Yeah, you can use them. But they're really small, but you can use them as a force in a lot of Imperial forces. You can bring them in as like an ally.
Yeah.
So they're cool. They're like ninja witch hunter chicks.
Yeah, I dig it.
So these three, like Custodians and the Space Wolves, and Leman Russ too, and they show up, and there's this big ass fight in Prospero. It's pretty cool. It's a great story. Thousand Suns throw down real hard, but the whole time Magnus is sulking in his room, and the demon he thought he killed on that last planet is all like, haha, sucker! Like, and Magnus is like, what the fuck? And the demon's like, well, we really would have liked you to be the one, but you were too powerful and too on point, and we knew we couldn't trick you like we did, so we picked someone else who used Horus.
No.
But I'm the one who originally made the deal with you, and that lets you save your sons. And then in this case, that you find out that the whole thing that Magnus did to save his sons from the flesh change was make a deal with the forces of chaos. But he didn't know they were the forces of chaos. He kind of knew, but he thought he won the deal.
Yeah.
So they're like, and that deal's up. They're no longer protected. So the Thousand Suns are thrown down hard, using all their psychic powers, whooping ass. But they're also like, oh shit, Carl just turned into a multi-headed demon beast. Ah, fuck. Yeah. So the fights go on back and forth. Like, some cool shit happens. Like, they have a giant Titan on the planet that it didn't work anymore. It was just there as like a giant statue.
Yeah.
And like one of the Thousand Suns, like, psychically projects himself into the Titan and like brings it to life using himself, and like goes on a rampage as this Titan.
Yeah.
Some cool shit.
That's trouble.
So great fight. But eventually the Thousand Suns are really starting to lose because they can't use their psychic powers
because they're turning into
demons. They realize too late. They're basically just losing. Magnus finally has a change of heart. Decides, like, right at the end that he's gonna, actually show up and protect his sons. Tells everyone, go into the last pyramid. Throws down with Leman Russ. Loses to Leman Russ because Leman Russ is a goddamn killing machine.
Yeah.
So, Leman Russ picks Magnus up, breaks his back over his spine, like Bane on Batman style.
Oh, God.
And then Magnus says, fuck you, I'm the most powerful psychic in the universe, and basically just, like, reforms himself psychically.
Oh.
Takes his boys and fucking departs the universe. And so basically, like, Magnus, it's not that he wanted to be a traitor, but he was forced into either dying or becoming a traitor.
Yeah.
So, and those aren't deals you can say, oh, okay, well, now I'll just go back.
No.
So, like, Magnus eventually becomes one of the demon Primarchs, And they do kind of get their revenge, like tens of thousands of years later. The Battle of the Fang happens, and they bring Prospero back from the warp, and the planet of the sorcerers, not Prospero, but either way, they bring their planet back. They attack Fenris. They get their revenge. Leman Russ isn't around at that point either. So yeah, Magnus definitely does. He is one of the bad guys. He shows up at the Council of the Nine, so he does like turn traitor, but there's a bunch of shit that had to happen.
Yeah,
to make him turn traitor.
He was pushed.
He was definitely pushed. If he just wasn't such a little bitch about stuff in the first place.
Yeah.
Like,
knowledge is power, though, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing. This was all a tangent because I asked you who was the most bookwormy, but it was really enjoyable. I just had to listen. We were like, previously, fucking Bobby G has to put the... But who's the biggest bookworm? And here we are.
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
Yeah, no, like, Magnus, like...
He's cool.
I think out of all of the traitor legions, the 9 traitor legions, the Thousand Sons are they're the least and the most traitory.
Yeah.
Like,
I like Thousand Sons. If I was gonna play a like chaosy whatever, I think Thousand Sons sound pretty dope.
Yeah, and it doesn't help the fact that like, Magnus starts becoming this demon Primarch. His boys still have the problem with the flesh change. So, like, if they're trying to use their powers, they have a risk of becoming demons. So, Aramon, who is really, like, worth talking about more than Magnus is, because Aramon, like...
He's, like, the fucking best. I hear people talking about Aramon.
He's, like, the head... He's, like, the head guy next to Magnus.
He can cast, like, 3 spells in a fucking...
Yeah, he's the cast pajamas. But he basically cast the rubric, and he transformed all the Thousand Sons who weren't capable of controlling their powers into dust. Yeah. Dust trapped in power armor that still fought, but dust. Yeah. So he saved the Legion by turning them into, magic robots, and then there's still sorcerers that are actually like there's, the 1 in 100 that can control the power without turning into a demon.
Yeah.
Still like a real person.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like,
nah.
dust.
Well,
and Magnus hated him for that.
Yeah, he wasn't down with this guy.
No, they hated each other. Like, Magnus hated him for 10,000 years. They just made up, and then they invaded Fenris to get their revenge. But 10,000 year grudge over that.
Well, this was a huge tangent, but boy, the Thousand Sons are an interesting faction. And definitely worth it. I think I like I like the Thousand Sons for sure. I think we'll end this episode here because we're around that mark. Thanks for listening, folks. And leave in the comments below if we've... Whatever you think. Yeah, it's good shit. So we'll see you next time on Loggers and Lore. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider supporting the channel by liking this video or subscribing to the channel and especially hitting that bell icon. Feel free to leave comments in the comments section below. I love talking with you guys. Until next video, I'll see you then. Thanks.